Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. It's that time. I'm actually filming this on Halloween, so hope everyone had a great Halloween. October went by way too fast. So let's get into the wrap up. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get into it. We're gonna do the 1-minute timer because I actually leave to go out of town tomorrow, so I'm running a little bit low on time because I still need to pack. So we're gonna try and knock this out. I read 18 books in the month of October, and I'm gonna try and explain each one of them to you in a minute or less. First up, we have The Wingman by Stephanie Archer. This was the third book in her Vancouver something hockey series, and this was pretty anticipated for me. I thought this was gonna be my favorite of the series. You kind of get glimpses of these characters in the other two books, and I thought it was going to be more of a love triangle, so that could be why I was more disappointed, because it wasn't what I was expecting. But basically, the female main character and the male main character, they went to college together and they have been friends. They kind of bonded over like the same fantasy book series, but she ended up being with his other friend at the time. They even got engaged, but they've recently broken off their engagement, and now she's gonna be staying with our male main character. I wanted more angst. Like, I don't know, I shouldn't say that, because like there was angst, but I felt like it wasn't as impactful as I wanted it to be for some reason. It could be because their relationship was a little bit like on the goofy, immature side, like in a good way because of how friendly they were. But I think I like more of the like childhood friends to lovers, where there's like history there. And this one, for some reason, I just didn't get that same feeling. Like, I still had a good time, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. So maybe like 3.5 star rating, I would say. The first two books were better, in my opinion. Next, I read A Fatal Affair by A.R. Torre. This was a thriller that I checked out from my library, and I gave it, this was also a 3.5 star rating. I might round up to a 4, I don't know. Basically, I was very intrigued by this premise. This Hollywood star, and she is married to another Hollywood star, and she was having an affair with his twin brother. So the brothers were in the limelight like their entire lives. They were on this like show as kids. She's kind of like a newer famous star, and all three of them were in the media constantly. The twin brother was staying in the guest house of the Hollywood star couple, and they go out and see that he is dead, and there's also a murdered female in the same guest house with him that they don't know. So it kind of goes from there. The plot twist, I technically guessed it pretty early on, but then they put things in the middle that were supposed to kind of like make you disbelieve that theory, but then those things ended up not panning out, so my original theory was actually correct. So the ending kind of like, I wasn't sure how to feel about it, but I feel like since I've had time to digest, I feel like it was still a successful thriller, because I really was like on the edge of my seat the entire time. It kind of gave me Taylor Jenkins Reid vibes, in the sense that, you know, it's about these like famous people in LA, and kind of like you're reading about them as if they're real people, you know, so I like that aspect of it. So I think for that reason, I'm probably going to end up changing my rating to a 4. Because even though I guessed the plot twist, it was still really entertaining. Next, I read Pucking Sweet by Emily Rath, another hockey romance, except this one was much more successful. Oh, this was amazing. Emily Rath has been like I feel like she's so underrated. Like, I know everyone talks about Pucking around, but I feel like people just talk about it because it's a why choose hockey romance. Like, I feel like people don't really recognize the fact that it's because Emily Rath is such a talented writer. Like, just the way that she puts words together, the way that she really makes you feel for the characters, and yeah, just like the emotion she's able to pack in, and the way she's able to use intimacy as a way of like character building as well. I feel like she's just underrated, in the sense that I know she's popular, but I think people assume that her book is more like icebreaker level. No offense to Hannah Grace, I love her too, but it's definitely not just like a fluffy, steamy thing. Like, there's depth and emotional intimacy that I think a lot of romances wishes they had. So that's just me. This was so good, so good. I wouldn't change a damn thing, and I gave it a 5-star rating. I loved it. Oh, I didn't even tell you what it's about. It's It's an MFM romance with the PR rep for the hockey team and 2 of the players. And one of the players has like history with her, and then the other one is kind of like the bad boy of the team, so she has to kind of like keep him in check because she's their PR rep, and it just kind of goes from there. Oh, amazing. I was still kind of in a sports romance mood, but I figured I should probably read some football since it's fall. So I listened to The Wrong Game by Candy Steiner because this is free through Audible's like premium subscription or whatever. Basically the premise of this one is the female main character, she's a widow actually, and her friend is trying to encourage her to get back into the dating world again. So she's helping her set up her dating profile, and what she's gonna do is she's a big football fan. She has her own season pass, and she put on her dating profile that she is going to, every time there's a game, she's gonna bring a new guy to the game. So basically saying like, our first date is gonna be at a football game. I have a season pass, you'll sit with me, and that'll be our first date. So that's her plan. Things don't always go according to plan. Like I said, the setup was really cute, but it was just okay. Like, I didn't feel a super deep connection with these characters, so I just gave this a 3-star. Like, it wasn't bad. The narrators were pretty good, but it was just okay. Next, I read A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain. I was pleasantly surprised. I am not usually a monster romance girly. I'm not. But I loved this. Like, I was obsessed. And the audiobook? Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Basically, this is like a demon romance. He's specifically a dusk walker, which I don't know if that's a real thing or if the author just like made it up. I think it's made up by the author, but regardless, basically she has to be like a sacrifice to this dusk walker, so it kind of gives like Beauty and the Beast vibes, but also like Hades and Persephone vibes. So it's kept her captive. She's human. He's this like demon that she doesn't really understand, and they're both kind of trying to understand each other. And he does eat humans, so there's that. But it was good, okay? It was good. He's actually really sweet, and yeah, I loved it. I gave this book a 4.5 star because there was a part like where I feel like it was too drawn out, and I think it personally could have been shorter and it would have been more effective. So I'm not gonna give it a 5 because it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty damn close. So I gave it 4.5. Next, I read Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. Beautiful. This is my 5-star prediction from my TBR jar video if you missed that, and I predicted correctly. Julie Soto has not let me down yet. This is only the 2nd book I've read by her, but still. Oh, sorry, I didn't start my timer. Don't yell at me. So this one involves a cello player? Cellist? Did you just say cello player? Okay, we're wasting time. Anyway, he's this like famous cello player and she's a violinist, and they actually play together in the same orchestra, and she ends up meeting him at a wedding, and he makes it seem like they don't know each other, and she's like, I've literally sat behind you in their chair of the orchestra for like years now. Hello. So it's kind of like a hate to love situation, and but it's so much more than that. Like, I just love the way Julie Soto writes, because there is kind of history between them that you don't really learn about until the story goes on. So I think that's why I liked this, because normally I'm not a big enemies to lovers fan. That's not usually the trope I go for. But this had layers. This had layers. Even though classical music is not exactly something I am experienced with, just the idea of music in general being woven into a love story, I just love, because music is really such an emotional thing, and I feel like I love when you have the juxtaposition of musicians expressing their love through music, but also like when they don't have the music, how do they express their love? Like, that kind of dynamic is just really exceptional, and Julie Soto killed it. I should not have been surprised. Honestly, if you liked Maestro by Auden Dar, I think this gives Maestro vibes. Not as intense as Maestro. It's like Maestro light. So if you're interested in that vibe. Okay. Next, I read Spookly Yours by Jennifer Chipman. Do not let this cover fool you, okay? Don't let this cover fool you, because I sure did. I thought this was just gonna be a cutesy Halloween romance, which it was. It was. It definitely gave Hocus Pocus vibes. Starts off with this witch, you know, she lives in a cute little town. She runs a bakery with her sister. She goes to adopt a new cat, a new familiar, as one does, and finds out that the cat is actually a demon who has been cursed, you know. So she breaks the curse for him, so he's not a cat anymore. But there's more to it, because then she comes to find out the reason why he was in her town to begin with, and the story goes from there. But the spice was spicing, the banter was really good. Not a monster romance by any means like the Opal Rain, but still the fact that it was like paranormal with a demon and a witch, like, yes, I was totally here for it. So I gave this 4 stars. Wasn't anything like groundbreaking, but I still really enjoyed it. Next, I listened to Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. Oh my god. People were right on Bookstagram. That's all I'm gonna say. When it comes to the audiobook, you have to listen to this on audio. Don't read it, listen to it. Basically, the female main character, she's a nurse. In her free time, likes to go on social media, and she likes to watch the masked men thirst traps. And there's this one particular creator that she loves. She watches his videos as soon as they're uploaded every time. Turns out, he knows her in real life. So he realizes that she likes the masked man kink, and he decides to see how much she likes it. So it's a stalker, masked man, dark romance. But I'm telling you, the audiobook is where it's at. There's a part where he uses like a voice modulator because he doesn't want her to know his true identity. And in the audiobook, he uses one. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. I was obsessed with it, and I can't wait for the next book to come out. I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. I gave it 5 stars. Then I listened to Two Can Play by Allie Hazelwood. I think this was like an audio only thing that she did with Spotify and Audible or something. I don't know. But I got it for free with my library on my Hoopla app, so I figured why not give it a try. I think it was also novella length. It was pretty short. It definitely gives like similar vibes to her like STEM romances, but this one is more so about like the video game side of it. So these two characters are in the video game making industry, but they work for 2 rival companies that are trying to compete to work on this one game. And they both kind of have a connection to this game because it's based off of a book that they both like. And they have some history with each other, so it's a little bit, I don't even know if you can call it enemies to lovers or hate to love. Like, that's how it was marketed. But when you find out the reason why they don't like each other, or the reason why they have this like beef between them, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, but like it was cute. It was cute to pass the time. It was free. Like, I'm glad I didn't spend money on it. I'm glad I didn't use an Audible credit on it. I gave it 3 stars because like it was fine. Like, it's not like it was bad, but it just wasn't, I don't know. I think also since I had just finished Lights Out, like this was like nothing in comparison. Like I don't know. It just wasn't that exciting to me, so I was just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, then I read There Was No Devil by Sophie Lark. I have been putting this book off for literally a year. This is part of a duology, a duet. I never know which time to use which one. And I read the first one literally a year ago. There's a cliffhanger, kind of. Like, there's definitely still stuff in the first book that you don't know about yet. So you think I would have went right into this, but no, I waited a year for absolutely no reason. I will say, Sophie Lark, I think there are great parts in this book where she really talks about like grief, or even like what it's like to struggle and kind of come out on the other side, and just like finding your strength as a woman. And I also liked her take on the psychology of serial killers, and like how a serial killer has to like kind of grapple with his tendencies when he's in love with somebody, if that makes sense. So those parts of it I really liked, but there are also some other parts in here where I was just like, it just felt like fluff, or like unnecessary, or like she was trying to be like gimmicky at times. So it was a very mixed bag. Like there were some passages that I would read and I'd be like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then there are other ones I read and I'd be like, what the hell did I just read? Like, I don't know, I just feel like there were 2 competing things happening at the same time, if I'm honest. So I think the first book is definitely better than this one. And it's not that this is bad. It's just I personally didn't like everything about it. So I think I'm going to give it like a 3.5 rating. I think is what I'm going to settle on here. Definitely a dark romance, graphic, serial killers. I can't really say too much about this book without spoiling the first book, but you get it. But I just think like there are some parts in here that didn't need to be. So I think she probably could have just done one book and it would have been better. Okay, next I read Wickedly Yours by Jennifer Chitmans. This is the follow-up to Spookly Yours. And again, I don't really want to say what this one is about necessarily because it might spoil the first book a little bit. But this is about the sister of the female main character in the first book. And she has to go into like an arranged marriage situation or like a marriage of convenience, fake engagement thing. Same thing, demon with a witch. I like that aspect, but this one focused more on like the demon world, which I liked because the first book was more so about like the cutesy little hocus pocus themed town. But this one I feel like had a little bit of a darker edge to it, which I personally like because I love dark romance. So yeah, this one was just as successful in my opinion, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. Then I read My Vampire Plus One by Jenna Levine. So the first book I read last Halloween and it was really cute and I liked it. Like I was giggling, kicking my feet, and I definitely had those moments with this book too. You could see I like tabbed a lot of things. And there were definitely some really cute parts and really funny parts. But honestly, I did not like the female main character at all. I only read this because I like the male main character, which you get a lot of him in the first book. He's kind of like the side character who brings like the comedic relief in book 1. So I knew I would like those parts in this one. So that's why I read it. And he did not disappoint me, but she kind of annoyed me. I don't know why. So I think I'm still going to settle on a 3-star just because I don't know if I would recommend this book to everybody per se. I feel like you would only enjoy this if you liked this character in the first book. I feel like that's the only reason why you would like this. I feel like the rest of the storyline just wasn't really giving. Okay, now around this time of the month, I had recently realized how many series I was in the middle of because I've been trying to take up bullet journaling. So I made this spread in my bullet journal that was like a series tracker. I'm in the middle of like over 50 series right now. Just let that sink in. There are over 50 series that I have not finished. I'm just like in the middle of them. The type A in me was freaking out, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I was trying to think, okay, what's a series that I could easily finish this month because I'm gonna go insane with this over 50 series hanging over me like a rain cloud. So I decided to read the Red Zone Rivals series by Candy Steiner. So the weird thing about this series though is I've read books 2 and 3. I skipped book 1 and then I never finished books 4 and 5. So we're gonna start with book 1, Fair Catch. Okay, this one is about a female main character who is on the same football team as what used to be her childhood best friend, but now it's someone that she hates, and it's her brother's best friend, and they're gonna be on the same college football team. Now, I don't know if it's on the back of the book, like why she has to go in to play football, but I feel like it happens pretty early on. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not. Basically, it's in honor of her brother. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I personally didn't know the reason going in why she played football. Obviously, I knew about these characters because I read books 2 and 3, so I knew that there was a female football player on the team, but I didn't really like know her backstory. So part of me kind of liked that. I kind of liked the fact that I read books 2 and 3 first, and then I went back and found out her backstory. I feel like that made me like her more as a character, and I feel like it made her story more interesting. So I personally really liked this one. It definitely gives enemies to lovers like hate to love, because even though they used to be childhood friends, something happened and now she like can't stand him. Can't stand him. And now they have to be on the same team together. They have the room together in the same dorm. Like, it's a whole thing. So the tension is really good. Candy Steiner really knows how to pack emotional angst into her books. This is where it's at. This is where it's at. This is what I wanted from the other one I read, or I listened to earlier in the month from her. So I gave this a 4-star rating. This was really solid. So then, because I wanted to close out the series, I went into book 4, which is Hail Mary. So in this one, I thought this was gonna be my least favorite, and this ended up being my favorite of the series, you guys. So you get the female main characters a little backstory in the previous book, where she's the roommate of the girl in book 3, basically. And they live across the street from some guys on the football team. She never liked Leo Hernandez. He's kind of like the cocky one on the team, like kind of like the Casanova type. And she just always was just like, ugh, whatever, I hate Leo. I don't care, I don't want to talk to him. And everyone's like, why? What's your beef? She's like, I just don't like football players. But what you don't know is they actually knew each other in high school. And they used to game together. But Leo doesn't remember her. So this gives me like second chance romance, and I was so here for it. The angst was through the roof on this one. Okay, I gave this one 5 stars. I was obsessed. The female main character is a tattoo artist. She's plus size. She's a gamer. I loved her to pieces. And the male main character is so sweet. He's a mama's boy, but he's also like a cocky football player. Like, oh my god. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And to close out the series, I read False Start. This is the last book. I think there's going to be one more coming at some point, but I'm going to consider this series done on my series tracker for now, okay? It counts. So this one also gives second chance vibes because these characters also knew each other back in high school. She was actually his babysitter. She's a couple years older than him, but now she's a single mom, and they end up being in the same town again after all these years. And she's going to be his real estate agent because he got signed with a team and he's moving to a different state and he needs a place to live. And she's a single mom trying to support her and her son. And they actually strike up a fake dating deal. And this one was pretty solid too. I gave this one 4 stars. Not as good as Hail Mary in my opinion. I think the only thing with this one was like the pacing and the timing for me. I think Hail Mary was more of a slow burn, which I don't usually like, but Candy Steiner pulled it off. So I think in comparison, in this one, I think they like get together like pretty early. Next I read Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I was totally wanting to get back into like a spookier mood after reading the football series. And this did not disappoint. This is a gothic romance where the female main character, Signa, is one of those girls where it seems like death is kind of like always following her. And there's this party that her parents were hosting and everyone got poisoned and she was like the only one who didn't die out of this like entire manor of people having a party. So the vibes are great in this book, like the dark, gothic, spooky, witchy. But the thing about this book, death does follow her. Death is actually a person or like a real entity, and crazy things happen to Signa when death comes around. The storyline is really good. It definitely hooked me. I feel like the pacing was a little slow at times. And there was one plot twist that I did guess pretty early on. But then there, at the very end, the part that sets you up for the next book, I need to read Foxglove immediately. I gave this a 4 star. It's perfect for this season. Next, of course, I had to read A.L. Jackson's new book, From Here to Eternity. This is a new motorcycle romance from her. So it's kind of related to her other series called Redemption Hills, which is one of my favorite series from her. And this one stacked up, okay? This was a 5 star, easy. I just love getting back into A.L. Jackson's writing because her writing is just so unique. No one writes like A.L. Jackson, like literally no one. She has such a unique voice and style to her writing that I feel like you just don't understand until you read one of her books. Just, it's almost poetic in a way, and it's just like raw. Like I love how she doesn't add a lot of extra stuff to her book. Like I feel like it's just really like raw and real, and it's literally like plucking just thoughts out of our brain and putting them into a book. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You just have to take my word for it and just read it, and then you'll understand. The female main character is coming to this small town. She's clearly on the run from something, but you don't really know all the details. And she wants to get a tattoo. So she just goes into this tattoo shop when they're almost closed. And when she sees a tattoo artist that's working the shop, he's actually the owner of the shop. There's an instant connection. There's just like this weird energy between them. Like she could just tell that like, it's almost like she's like part of his orbit now. And he feels the same pull to her as well. So A.L. Jackson is the master at being able to weave a love story together while also having the suspenseful element on the side and how that kind of complements the romance. Like, oh, it's just amazing. Like, you could tell these two are soulmates and they're meant to be together in so many ways, and with the plot, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. I finished this book literally today. This is Starling House by Alex E. Haro. I got this from my library and I was really excited about it because this definitely gives the fall vibes. I still wanted something kind of like Belladonna, right? Like that spooky kind of atmosphere. And it definitely gives that. The atmosphere and the vibes in this book are really good. And I think that's the best part for sure. Basically in this one, there's this house in this small town in, I think, Kentucky. I literally just finished this book and I already forgot. I think it's in Kentucky. And it's this creepy house that has been there for generations. It was built by this author who wrote something kind of similar to like Alice in Wonderland, but like really dark. She was kind of like the black sheep of the town because she was definitely weird, right? She was definitely weird. And the house has always scared people. People always see things. They say bad things always happen around that house. And whoever ends up taking the house always becomes kind of like a recluse, or it's kind of like a weird ostracized person. It's basically like the big scary house in the town that everyone makes up stories about, right? So the female main character, she is trying to survive with her brother. They're both orphans and she's just trying to make enough money so that he can have a better life outside of this terrible town, right? But she's always had this fascination with Starling House. She ends up going there and it just kind of turns into this crazy story. Like I said, I literally just finished this book, so I feel like I don't really know how to process it. The ending definitely lost me a little bit. I feel like this is fantasy, so I knew it was going to be like a gothic fantasy, right? Some romance elements to it. Like, I think if you like dark romance, I think that you will still like parts of this book. But the fantasy was a little like woo-woo, even for me. There were definitely parts of it that I feel like I still don't really understand, even though I read it. So take with that what you will. I'm probably going to give this a 3.5 star just because I personally would like more explanations about certain things. But that's just me. I'm kind of annoying that way, where I don't like open endings. I like everything explained. Which is ironic because I like reading mysteries, but I like when the mystery is explained. But I don't know if this really like fully explained everything enough for me personally. So that's why I'm gonna settle on a 3.5 star. The vibes are really good. Like I said, I think if you're just going off the first like 200 pages, it was really, really good. But then I feel like the last 100 pages kind of lost me. So I don't know, I still recommend it if you like gothic vibes and if you like more fantastical elements in your books. I think that you'll still enjoy it. All right, that's gonna be it for my October wrap up. Let's see how we did with my TBR. Honestly, not the best. There were a lot of books in my October TBR video that I didn't even like touch, to be honest with you. I did not read Nora Roberts. I didn't even read the Tessa Bailey book. What is wrong with me? I didn't read the Sylvia Moreno Garcia book. I didn't read Midnight Sun. I did not read Kennedy Ryan, but if you saw my November TBR, I'm gonna move that over to November. So I guess I didn't do that bad. I still read probably like, I read like half, I think. Yeah, so I guess it's not terrible, but it definitely could have been better. I think since I've started doing my TBR videos, I think this is the month where I kind of went most off track. But I wasn't that mad about it because I really did end up getting some really good spooky, like darker reads this year that I really was in the mood for. And I am a mood reader at heart. Give this video a like and leave a comment down below telling me your favorite book that you read in the month of October. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my future videos. And I will see you next time. Bye.